Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to another lesson on pronunciations. So, how have you been doing so far with the pronunciations that I taught you in the previous lessons? Have you had a situation where you had to use it? It's good to start pronouncing the words correctly the moment you come to know the right pronunciation of the words. So, keep the pronunciations in mind the first few times you use a particular word in your language, and eventually the pronunciation of that word will get registered in your head and you won't have to think twice before saying it. So without further ado, let's look at some awesome words that you've been pronouncing wrongly. But don't worry, we'll get it right so that you can rock your English while speaking anywhere and everywhere. The first word is this one. A lot of people pronounce this word as cocoa, including me. Until recently, I learned that it should be Coco and not cocoa. So you have to pronounce this word as Coco. For example, it should be cocoa powder or cocoa drink and not cocoa powder or cocoa drink. It should be cocoa. So make sure you pronounce this word as cocoa the next time you come across this word. Do you know what this is? You might be using it for cleaning or wiping surfaces. It could also be found inside toys or pillows. And a lot of you might be pronouncing this word as sponge. But that is in fact wrong. It should be pronounced as sponge. Once again, sponge, sponge. I hope you got that. Try to repeat after me when I say it. Say it sponge. Be sure to say it along with me. For example, you could ask someone, "Can you get me a sponge for cleaning the car?" Okay, moving on to the next word. I had been pronouncing this word as cucumber for I don't know for how long, probably many years. If you have been pronouncing it that way too, then that is incorrect. It should in fact be pronounced as cucumber. Cucumber. So it's not cucumber or any other way that you've been pronouncing. If you have been pronouncing it wrongly, it should be cucumber. Look at this word, sphere. What do you think the pronunciation is for this word? Have you been saying it as spear? If you have, then that is not correct. It should be sphere with the ph should be in fact be pronounced as f. So it should be sphere. Sphere. So when you say the word atmosphere, you can say that you can see that it ends with sphere. Similarly, troposphere. So make sure that whenever you see the spelling, it should be sphere. So what's a spear? Let's find out. This is a spear. And you can see that the spelling is completely different. It is S-P-E-A-R, spear. It's actually a weapon, and I have mostly seen this when I used to watch the Olympic Games. I think that sport is called javelin throw. I'm not sure, but I've seen this in that sport, and this is in fact called a spear. I think this is also used for hunting and stuff. Okay, moving on to the next word. This is the first meal of the day. How many of you have been pronouncing this word as breakfast? I'm sure many of us have been doing this mistake for years, including me. But I learned it eventually how to pronounce it the right way, which is breakfast. It should be short, not break fast, but breakfast. Breakfast. Try to repeat after me. Breakfast. Would you like me to make chapati for breakfast? What would you like for breakfast? Dosa, idli, or puri? So you can see that it should in fact be breakfast and not break fast. I hope this word is clear for you. One more time, breakfast. Okay, moving on to the next word. Okay, some of you may have been pronouncing this word as picture, but it should be pronounced as picture. The C should be pronounced picture. Can I take a picture of you? Can I see your picture? So remember, it shouldn't be picture, but it should be picture. Now, I've seen most of them pronounce this word as flower. It shouldn't be flower, but it should be flower. So make sure you pronounce this word as flower. Hour. Ow. Flower. Just round your lips if you have to. Flower. For example, here is a flower for you. These flowers look amazing. A lot of you might have been pronouncing this word as towel. In fact, I used to pronounce this word as towel, but in fact, it should always be pronounced as towel. One more time. Even I had difficulty initially to get this down. So one more time. Towel. Towel. I hope you can make it out. Towel. So actually there are two kinds of pronunciation for this particular word, the British and the American, but you can pronounce it either way, whether you want to do it the British way or the American way, but in fact it should be towel. Just lower your voice towards the end. Towel. Okay, moving on to the next word. This should be pronounced as bass. It shouldn't be bass, but it should be bass, just like how you would pronounce the word B-A-S-E. This should be pronounced the same way. Bass. Bass refers to the lowest or the deepest sounds. It could refer to the lowest range or really deep male singing voice, or it can also refer to the lowest note on the musical instruments. You must have heard of the bass guitar. It produces low-pitched notes. Hence, it's called the bass guitar. So remember, this should be bass and not bass. One more time, it should be bass. Next, we have this word. Most of them have this, usually pronounce this word that I've seen as restaurant. But that is not correct. It isn't the correct way of pronouncing it. It should be restaurant. Restaurant. There are two ways to pronounce this word too. You could either say restaurant or restaurant. So it shouldn't be restaurant, but restaurant. A quick note regarding restaurant and hotel. Never confuse between hotel and a restaurant. A restaurant is where you can buy and eat meals, whereas a hotel is a place or a building where there are many rooms for people to stay, and it could include a restaurant attached to it, or it may not have one either. So this should be restaurant. And a restaurant is a place where you can buy and eat meals. Next, we have this word, and this word should not be pronounced as buffet with a T. You should exclude this T when you pronounce this word. It should in fact be buffet or buffet. Remember, we had seen ballet in our previous lesson? It's similar to that. The T is silent. Just like how you would say ballet, this should be buffet, or you can even say it as buffet. Buffet or buffet. Moving on to the next word. The final word in our lesson is this one. Yum. How many of you like dessert? You can see that I pronounced it as dessert. D. Dessert. Just like how you would say divine. The beginning. Just notice the beginning. It should be dessert and not desert. Desert is D-E-S-E-R-T, and it is completely different from dessert. So next time you order a dessert in a restaurant, make sure you pronounce it correctly. Pronounce it as dessert. I would like chocolate dessert. I would like to have pudding for dessert. So remember, dessert. Even if you don't use these words that we have learned so far frequently, one thing you can do to practice them is to say the right pronunciation even when you're thinking about the word in your head. All of us have a second voice inside our head, right? So when you read stuff, make sure the voice inside your head also uses the right pronunciation. That way you can always practice even though you don't come across a particular word in your daily life. So be sure to rate, recommend, review, share, or comment, whichever is your cup of tea. Cup of tea. Cup of tea is an idiom which you can use to express if you like, or if you're interested in something, or simply anything that you enjoy doing. So, for example, if something is your cup of tea, you like doing it a lot. If something is not your cup of tea, you dislike it or are uninterested in it. So, an example that I can think of right now is watching horror movies is not really my cup of tea, which means you dislike watching horror movies. Another example could be reading books on rainy days is my cup of tea. And yet another example could be you can choose to go out with your friends in the evening or stay at home and learn English with me, whichever is your cup of tea. Okay, that's all the time I have for this video. I hope this lesson was useful. Thank you for watching, and see you again in the next video.